Hello my lovely viewers, let's take a quick look at this question. Now this is titration. All right, now at the course of this, look at the question brought before us. We are going to do the titration on this particular station. We are going to do the titration, then we now use the titration, whatever the value that we have, we now use and calculate all these parameters. So if you are watching on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, a complete video of this particular titration, how to do the measurement of the acid and base, dissolve it and do your titration, you get your endpoint. All the video and the various calculation is being uploaded on my YouTube channel. Look at it here on Ojenmai TV. So just go there and look for titration by Ojenmai. Just type A is a solution containing 6.3 grams per dm cube of what of HCl. B is a solution of what 5.0 grams of what of S ozocarbonate decahydrate in 500 cm cube. All right, now titrate A against 20 or 25 cm cube portion of what of B using methyl orange as indicator. Now repeat the titration 3 more times, like 3 consecutive times, and obtain your dm cube and also in moles per dm cube. Then at the end we now calculate the molar mass of B, which is what this decahydrate or hydrated salt. So just watch carefully as the video of how we are going to measure the acid and base and do the titration and give you the titration table, and we now use and calculate our parameters.
Preparing or who are about preparing for their external exams, we want to look at how we can do acid-base titration. Parameter stand. This is our burette. This is our burette where we put our acid. We have this our conical flask. We have conical flask, 3 conical flasks here. This one will be for the first titer. This one will be for the second titer. This one will be for the third titer, or we use one as rough. All right. So this one now, this is our pipette, and it is calibrated 25 mils. All right, this is our pipette. Okay, now here our volumetric flask, we are going to put our acid here. We are going to make 1 dm cube into this 1 dm cube of acid into this flask. We are going to make 1 dm cube into this of base here also. And here is our base. Okay, the base that we want to use is a salt, a hydrated salt, sodium triazocarbonate decahydrate. All right, so it is a hydrated salt we are going to use for, and of course we are going to use this one methyl orange as our indicator. So now let's go into this. First of all, we are going to weigh. These are our salts. Okay, we are going to weigh our, we call it our base. We are going to weigh it into this weighing balance. So what next is that, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I already have I have 3 grams. I want to measure 5 grams. Okay, I already have 3 grams, so I want to measure 5 grams. So I'll have to measure again. 10 mils of 10 centimeter. That is 10 mils of what? Of this hydrochloric acid. This one I have a measure what? 5 grams of it. Okay, so at the end you wash your end point. As you all know, I want to make a dilution of 1 dm cube. Look at, you can see the mark here. 1 dm cube is what is here. So I will dissolve 10 mils of this acid. Look at, I will dissolve 10 mils of this acid into what? Into this dm cube to make a solution of what? 1 dm cube. So what do I do? Let me measure my acid. One thing that you need to know is that you don't put acid, you don't put water into acid. Precaution, don't put water into acid. You put what? Acid into water. That is the precaution that you need to know. Okay, don't put. Oh, guess what I'm about doing now? of course, I have my base, which is the salt that sodium hydrated sodium thiazocarbonate here. I have my acid here, hydrochloric acid. So what next? I want to pipette. All right, I will pipette into this conical flask. Yeah, I will use this one as my first titer. I will use this one as my second titer. I will use this one as my what? As my third titer. So now, what next? Let me put it here. Okay, so this is my pipette. I hope you are seeing me. So this is my pipette. Okay, so I will pipette to this point. Have you seen? This point is 20. So the next thing is want to pipette our base. We are going to pipette our base. This is our base. We are going to pipette it into making one of the titer. This is the first titer. This is the second titer, and this is the third titer, so that we can get our average volume of acid. All right, so now we are going to prepare. Look at the mark of this prepare here is 25. All right, 25 mils. Okay, so we are going to prepare. You have to make sure it gets to that mark. You can see there. You can see here. Have you seen? That is a mark. Okay, so I'll put it in my second and what? This is the third that we want to prepare. Get our what? This is our thought. We are preparing this base, that is a base, into what? Into 3. All right. The next thing we are going to do is that we are going to add one drop of this indicator. This indicator we are using, we are going to add one drop to it. Have you seen? Have you seen? The color is what? Orange, because it's what we are using, what? Methyl orange. All right. So make another drop. Have you seen? This is another one. This is our first, third, second one. Have you seen? All right. Burette. We are going to put our acid into this burette. All right. So the next thing, we are going to put our acid into this burette. You get that? Make sure before you put your acid here, make sure you rinse everything with what? With the acid. Don't rinse it with water, rinse it with what? With acid. All right. So what I'm going to do is that I'll put my funnel, then put my acid. Look at my acid. I'll put my acid. All right. You can see this point. You must make sure your acid get to this point. This point is 0.0. All right, 0.0. Okay, this is point. Make sure your acid get to this 0.0. And when you are recording, you have to record what? Initial. This one now, it is your initial. Initial will be what? 0.00. Initial of the first titer. I will use this one now. Look at that. first title, second title, third title. So initial of this one will be what? We will know where the end point will reach. Now watch out. Have you seen? We want to take this the first title now. We want to use it and check where the color will change. Look at, I will begin to put what? My acid here and observe the color. Look at, I will observe the color, check where the color will change. You can see, as soon as you have you seen, the color have changed. Have you seen? Look at this one and this one. Have you seen the color change to what? To purple, or they call it what? Pink. Okay. Now I will now come to my reading now. Look at the color change at what? At 21.0 cm. This the whole of this one is what? Is cm. So the first title now, the final this remember our initial was what? 0.00. The final is what? 21.00. So adjusting your this thing now, you can see that at the end of it, I have what? You must stand straight, all right, to take your reading so that you know. So I have 21.00 as my word, as my final. 21.00. Initial was at what? At 0.00. Now, before when the time that the acid take to neutralize to form these to change this color is at what? Is at 21.00. Is that understood? Now I will now take the second one. Now in the second one, now remember the acid, I cannot refill this acid because there is still acid here. I cannot refill the whole of this acid because what? There is still acid. So I will now take the initial of the second title. Initial of the second title to be what? 21.00. Initial of the second title to be what? 21.00. Are you following? 21.00. Then I will now. So look at how we titrate. What you are going to do, look at what I'm doing now. When I put my, remember our initial is at what? Our initial of the second, this is the second. This is the first one. Our initial of this first one was what? 0.00. And the final of this one is what? 21.00. Are you following? Now, I have not taken another one now. This is the second title now. The initial of this second title is what? 21.00. So I will now do the titration. I've gotten my end point. Do you get that? And the end point is at 0.10. Do you get that? As my what? As my second title. Now, because the acid will not be enough to finish this one, the acid will not be enough to finish this one, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to refill my acid to what? To the beam. Are you following? I'm going to refill my acid because of what? The acid that is left here will not be enough to what? To neutralize this one. So I will now refill my acid. I will now refill my acid. I will refill my acid. Now, my acid that I refill it to what? To 0.00. So the initial of the third title now, initial of this one now will be 0.00. Initial of this one will be 0.00. Because of what? I have refueled my acid. Look at, let me show you. I have refueled my acid. Look at, I have refueled my acid to what? 0.00. So the initial, you take the initial of the third one. Initial of the third one. Remember, the question has already been said. After that, we are going to complete the table, okay? Then I will now give you the various calculation that you need to know. Just what you need to do is that as you are watching this video, do well to like, put on that subscription bell so that anytime I post video, you will be able to be notified and you'll be the first person to see the video. Now, what I'm going to do is that the next thing I have to what? Titrate again. I'll titrate. When you are titrating, always look at this place, not here. Always look at this place. Look at, I will be shaking gently. Shake, shake, and see the color, how the color will change. Because the color have finally changed. Look at, the color have changed. And the color changed at what? At 20. We have 21.0. The color change at what? 21.0. So your final reading of the third titer is 21.0. What is the initial reading of this third titer? Initial reading is what? Is 0.00. Are you following? And at the end, I have gotten my 3 titer. Together, this is the first titer, second titer, and the
Welcome. Now you have watched the video, how the video is being done and the various endpoints. Now this is how you are going to plug your table. When you are asked in any external exam, we have the first titer, the second titer, and the third titer. Remember, in the first titer, we have the initial as well, 0.00, and the final is what? Final will always come up before the initial, so that you will minus this final. You minus 21.00 by what? The initial, you get your volume of what? Of acid. Now the second titer here, you carry this one now, you put here as your initial. When you titrate, remember the titration being done, you see how it was done. At the end, you minus the final of the second titer by the initial, you get this one, and you do the same thing to the one. Now the first question we are asked, go back to your question. The first question we are asked in that is, A says that, A is a calculate the average volume of acid. We are asked to calculate what? The average volume of acid. Now, how do you calculate the average volume of acid? You are going to say that volume of acid, VA, that is average volume of acid, VA, is equals to, you are going to take the, look at volume of acid here. So you are going to take the titer. Remember, always take the one that are concordant, that are the same. Look at this one and this one are the same. You can decide to take the free, but I will always advise students, take the one that are the same. Do you understand? Now, what we do now? We take this one, we have first titer plus what? Plus third titer, 21 is the same. You can take the 3 and divide by 3, but you can take the 2, always take the one that are similar and divide. So third titer, I'm going to divide by what? Since there are only 2, I'm going to divide by what? By 2. So at the end, I'll put my own CNQ. Please, the unit is very, very important. Volume is in CNQ. So just make sure you put that. So volume of acid, now average volume of acid now will now be what? What is your first titer? Around 21.00 plus what? 21.00 divided by what? Divided by 2. So equals to what? At the end we have what? 21.00 cm cube. So our average volume of acid is what? 21.00. Do you understand? Now the first question say one, calculate concentration of A in moles per what? dm cube. Now when you are calculating concentration, there are two major formula you can use to calculate what? Concentration. All right, two major formula. Now one of the formula is molar concentration. Molar concentration is equals to mass concentration over molar mass. That is one of the formula. The second formula is CAVA is equals to NA over NV over CBVB. This is one formula, two formula. Anytime you are asked to calculate concentration in moles per dm cube, I'm not talking about grams per dm cube. In moles per dm cube, these are the two formula you are going to use. Now you use this one if one of the, remember we have concentration of acid, concentration of base. You only use this one if the concentration is not given, any of the concentration is not given in moles per dm cube. Like in the case of this one now, in the question here is given in grams per dm cube, here is given in grams. So none of the concentration is given in moles per dm cube. So you are going to use this formula. But if concentration of either A or B is given in moles per dm cube, you don't need to come and use this formula. You use this formula direct. This formula, you can only use this formula if one of the concentration in your question, either A or B, is given in moles per dm cube, you use this one. But if it is not given, if none of them is given in moles per dm cube, you use this formula. So we are going to use this formula because of what? None of the concentration is given in what? In moles per dm cube. And we are asked to calculate what? The concentration of A in moles per dm cube. So what do we do? By going into this formula, we say molar concentration is equals to, what is your mass concentration? Mass concentration is what? Grams per dm cube. Anytime you hear mass concentration is always expressed in what? Grams per dm cube. Then molar concentration is always expressed in what? In moles per dm cube. While molar mass is always expressed in what? Grams per mole. So what is your mass concentration? Mass concentration of A. Remember, what we are doing here is what? Of A. And A is what? 6.3. Divided by, what is the molar mass of A? A is what? HCl. HCl is what? We have H is equals to 1, Cl is equals to 35.1.5. So at the end we have what? If we add these two together, we have what? 36.1.5. So molar concentration of A, say concentration of A moles per dm cube. So that is our first question. Our first question, we have gotten the concentration of what? A in moles per what? dm cube. The second question, we are asked to calculate the concentration of what? Of B in grams per dm cube. B here is given in what? In grams per cm cube. So we are going to change this grams per cm cube to what? To dm cubes. Alright? But if it is not in cm cube like this, we are going to make mass concentration here the subject of formula, which we are going to multiply molar concentration by what? By molar mass. But anytime the question is given in cm cube per cm cube, you don't do it like that. So what you are going to do is that, so in the second one, we are asked to calculate BI. We are asked to calculate what? Okay, I have concentration of B in grams per what? dm cube. So by so doing, here is given in cm cube. So what we are going to do is that 5 times, we are going to change this cm cube to what? To dm cube, times 1000 divided by what? 500. So cancel here will be what? 2. So equals to what? 10 grams per what? dm cube. That is our final answer. Anytime concentration is given in cm cube like this, cm cube, this is what you are going to do. But if it's not given in cm cube and you are not asked to calculate concentration, mass concentration, you are going to cross multiply. Use this formula, cross multiply this one. So the third question, we are asked to calculate concentration of B in moles per dm, which we are going to use the formula because we already have the concentration of our acid. C of A is equal to what? 0.173 moles per dm cube. So we have gotten our concentration of acid. We are now going to look at what? Concentration of base using this formula because one of the concentration we have already. Now to establish that, we say BII. Concentration of, we are looking at concentration of B in mole per dm cube. So using this formula, what is the concentration of A? We are going to make CB the surgeon formula. So CB now will be equals to what? You cross multiply. Look at CA, VA, NB. Look at cross multiply. This one will go here. So over what? Over VB, NA. So putting into the formula, CB now will be equals to, what is your CA? CA, we have what? 0.173. Are you following? Now, what is your VA? Volume of acid, we have what? 21. That is your volume of A. 21 multiply. What is your mole ratio of B? Look at the equation here. Look at your base here and look at your acid here. So what is in front of this one? Nothing is here. So it's what? It's 1. You divide it by volume of base. Volume of base is given, and go back to your equation, is what you use in pipettes. That pipette is always standard. Volume of base is always standard. It is either you are using the one of 20 cm cube or you are using 25 cm cube. But at the cost of our titration, go back to the titration, you see that what we use in pipetting the base now is what? 25 cm cube. So we'll put what? 25 multiply by, what is your mole ratio of acid? Look at acid here is what? Is 2. See, by the whole of this one, divide by 0.493 moles per what? Per dm cube. Moles per dm cube. So we have gotten our concentration of what? Of base as what? 0.493 per what? Moles per dm cube. Now the last question we are going to look at is what? The molar mass, because the fourth one says calculate the molar mass of this one. Are you following? So molar mass, look at molar mass. To get the molar mass is what? You replace this formula. You can see that this formula play a lot of role. So you say mass concentration over what? Molar concentration. Are you following? Remember, our mass concentration is, we have what? B is given as what? 10 grams per what? dm cube. While the molar concentration of B is given as what? Look at it here. 0.493 mole per what? Per dm cube. You get that?